Biafra-Phobia. What's the world afraid of? Has the world any fear about the Biafrans?
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices. After those countries finished industrialization, then Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role. Just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. The currencies are collapsing of these countries, and many of them are sub-Saharan African countries. After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep these countries where they were. Okay? And the first of those is aid. Okay? We give them aid. Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan, they were killed. It's just economics. It's economic warfare. The rich declare war on the poor. It happens everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do. You really believe you have democracy? Come on. You know, I mean, grow up. Who has all the subsidies and income support? US, Europe. The largest budgets in the world for supporting their farmers are Europe and US. You see, we're keeping them dependent. We're keeping them on a string. This next round of the WTO is designed to block that. To block anyone else getting on top of the ladder.
To this day, it remains the official policy of the American government. It has not changed. It may not be implemented by Trump, but it remains the same. That the purpose of the foreign policy in Africa was to reduce the population. So to give aid to countries in Africa, not clean water and schooling and things like that, but contraception and abortion, in order to shrink the population of Africa, because they have great mineral resources there.
That sounds diabolical.
It is, yes.
That sounds like something conceived in the mind of Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, definitely. And so at the time, Kissinger and those involved with the Carter administration wanted to shrink the population, make sure that the Africans do not develop and do not use the resources for themselves, because we in the States, we need them.
There are two things plaguing them in the zoo: lies and deceit. If not for the coming of IPOB, of Radio Biafra, all of you would have lived and died in the ignorance that Ojukwu caused a war. That's what they were writing. Britain helped them to write it. Ojukwu was a rebel, a secessionist, because we had no media. That is why they're paying Facebook billions upon billions of US dollars to stop this truth from coming out. Did Ojukwu cause any war? Gowon is alive, go and ask him. Did Ojukwu cause any war? Ojukwu went and negotiated restructuring with you in Aburi. You came back, Britain told you not to agree, because Britain realized that all the component units of Britain knows that if you go back to regionalism, you will have economic growth. The country will do very well. But Britain doesn't want it. That was why they even instigated the Nzogbu, so-called Nzogbu coup, saying they will bring Awolowo to become the head of state. They knew what was going to happen. They wanted to truncate the economic miracle of Dr. Michael Opara. What I'm telling you are fast. Go and investigate for yourself. In the East, you had the fastest growing economy in the whole world, over 40% every year. In the West, Awolowo was performing his own miracle as well. Even in the North, Ahmadu Bello and Tafawa Balewa were doing very well. You had all those massive industries in the North. You even had Alamajiris that were employed in the North, meaningfully employed, gainfully employed. They were all doing very well. Britain said, no, for us to control these people, we need to impoverish them. Let us introduce this war. There was a coup by Nzogbu. And after that, there was the massacre of, as usual, massacre of our people in the North. Ojukwu said, I have to secure my land and my people. They said, no, let's go to Aburi to discuss it. Ojukwu went to Aburi and agreed restructuring. That's something now you're asking for, to tell you how foolish Nigerians are. They're very foolish. That same nonsense you're asking for now was discussed many years ago. Ojukwu sat down in Aburi with Gowon and decided that regionalism was the best way forward, restructuring, going back to who you were, 1963 Constitution, 1960-1963 Constitution. Be on your own and pay tax to the central government, as they have in America, as they have even in Britain. Britain, you have Scotland that is almost independent, Wales, the same thing, everybody is free, but Britain doesn't want the same thing they're enjoying to happen in Nigeria. Why? Ask yourself that question. Anybody telling you about one Nigeria is your enemy, I'll prove it to you now. Ojukwu negotiated devolution, regionalism. The North will be on their own, the West on their own, even Midwest on their own, and then the East on their own. It's the same one Nigeria. On their way to the airport, before they boarded the aircraft, a call came from Lagos, from the British High Commissioner in Lagos, to Gowon, telling Gowon not to agree, after having signed the agreement. That same Gowon you're looking at today, God kept me alive so that he can witness the destruction he will bring upon that very zoo called Nigeria. Gowon said no. Do you know all the journalists in Nigeria, none of them have ever gone to Gowon to ask him, why did he say no to Aburi? Aburi was restructuring. None of those agitating for restructuring right now has ever gone to Gowon or gone to Nigeria to say, but Ojukwu negotiated restructuring. What happened? They came back and they said no. Ojukwu said, okay, so you want to continue to kill my people all over the place? No, because of that I'll declare Biafra. Today, they have brainwashed all of you with the perverse notion and thinking.
What's the world afraid of? Has the world any fear about the Biafrans? In order to succinctly answer this seemingly simple question, I would want to take us down memory lane and really have some discourse about some things we already know, because an Igbo adage says, adighi agba also ehihe na nkiti. One of the 7 wonders of the world is the pyramids of Egypt. Yes, but has anyone asked what the pyramid of Egypt is doing in Biafra land? A history account has it that there arose a Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph, the Hebrew child sold to Egypt, that rose to prominence as the second in command of the entire province of Egypt. That particular Pharaoh oppressed children of Israel beyond measures, that besides the Nazi holocaust of the Jews, where 6 million Jews were killed, no other time in history had the children of Israel suffered such oppression. The scriptures, the holy word of God, was clear about who the Egyptian slaves were. It was these same slaves who helped build the great pyramids of Egypt, still standing up to the present day. The children of God suffered massive oppression in the hands of the Egyptians, that they cried out in desperation for a redeemer. Eri, the 5th son of Gad, who was the 7th son of Jacob, under that prevailing horrible sin that was going on in Egypt, alongside his siblings Arose and Areli, had migrated to Biafra land to settle. It could be at this time that the pyramids of Nsude, Enugu, Biafra land were built. Nevertheless, archaeological evidence revealed that those pyramids dated back to 2630 BCE, whereas those in ancient Egypt dated back to 2560 BCE, which is about 70 years difference. As time went by, the suffering of the children of Israel intensified. Eventually, God sent a deliverer in the person of Moses. Constant call of Pharaoh, "Let my people go," by God through Moses fell on deaf ears until the final judgment of God on Egypt, in which all the firstborn of Egypt died in one night. This led to the exodus of the people of God to the promised land. There the rest of the family of Gad were given their portion of land that was due them, which fell under the northern kingdom of Israel until the conquest of Samaria by the Syrians in 721 BCE. This ugly drama continued till the final conquest of the southern kingdom comprising of Judah and Benjamin by Babylon in 587 BCE. It's only fair then that Biafra is one of the few places on earth that can lay claim to the building of the pyramids of Egypt. What constituted the first flag of Nigeria, originally used by the colonial masters, had the symbol of the Star of David on it. When it was unveiled at the amalgamation to become the flag of Nigeria, the Muslim North, controlled by the Caliphate, kicked against it and burnt it up. A protest interpreted to mean they had nothing to do with Israel. Based on the above assertion, I dare say that both the British and the Caliphate knew who the Biafrans were then, even as they know now. Yet, they couldn't allow Biafrans to go. Why the phobia? Whoever argues that divide and rule tactics isn't demonic is telling frantic lies. As far we know, this deadly weapon has been effectively used by the colonial masters to fragment our people and sow seeds of discord to the extent that some of our riverine brothers till date exhibit phobic tendencies. The white man poisoned their minds, called them minorities on their land, and made them understood that they were being cheated by the majority Igbos. At one point, they carved out the current-day Deltans and Edos, including Ibanke and Ibakiri, and merged them with the Yorubas in the West. Not until 1963 that a plebiscite was conducted and what was separated from the old eastern region became the Midwest region of Nigeria from northern Igbo. They carved out the Idoma, Igala, and Ida and merged them to the northern Nigeria. This divisive practice has continued unabated to this day. In fact, the Fulani Caliphate government of Nigeria has stepped it up to an alarming level. Now, there is Niger Delta or South-South, as the case may be. What used to be Ohaji Ebema in the old Imo State is now a conglomerate comprising the three states of Abia, Imo, and Rivers. What is called Oyibo today was formerly known as Obi-Igbo, whereas Umo Okoro now answers Rumo Okoro. Umo Osi is now known as Rumo Osi, and Nwa Ike says he is Nwike and not an Igbo man. What an irony! All is designed in the bid to further divide us because they know that united and stronger we stand, but divided we fall. My question is, are we still going to allow this to continue to the detriment of our people? Prior to the demise of the first Nigerian Republic, the then Eastern region had the fastest growing economy at 40% than the rest of the world. The British was alarmed and began to plot to destroy us. That plot culminated in the January 15, 1966 coup, now tagged as Igbo coup. Who would have believed that Britain was behind it? I never thought that was the case until they were exposed by our great liberator, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Trust in his ability to fish out information, even if it's hidden in the pit of hell, and that is why they must free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu now. One thing led to another, and then there was a counter coup, which was followed by the worst pogrom that claimed over 200,000 Biafran lives. Notice I said Biafran lives, because when they started killing, you will not be asked whether you are Igbo or any other ethnic group. Maybe General Philip Effiong puts it better. Please hear him. Myself, I am not an Igbo man. I was to be killed also, but I managed to escape. A few others also escaped. Very many were killed, and those that were killed from eastern Nigeria. So my people, do not deceive yourself and think you are any different from any of us. The way the white man structured Nigeria simply put you in one of three categories of the major ethnic groups: Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. Even after they have traveled to almost all the major cities in Nigeria and knew about other ethnic groups, they still group people as Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. Then there was the Aburi Accord, which the same British scuttled and finally led to the Third World War, that was erroneously dubbed Nigerian Biafran War, that claimed over 5 million Biafran lives. In all this, the world has remained silent and is still silent about the gross injustice meted to the Biafran people. Why is the world afraid to let Biafra go? Whoever God has enthroned king is impossible for man to dethrone, no matter how hard you try. The people of God must be free. Biafra must be free. All hail Biafra. Written by Mazi John Ogbonnaya for Biafra Writers of Conscience, BWOC.
The same thing IPOB was asking for was what the North asked for in Sharia. They agitated for Sharia, and Obasanjo agreed to grant them Sharia across 12 states of the North. Is it 13? I don't know. Nobody killed them for it. This same Fulani asking you not to talk about restructuring or banning Fulani headsmen from coming to the South. They had an issue of national concern to them, being their own Sharia. They wanted Sharia law in the North, and it was given to them. There was no legislation in the Federal House of Assembly, be it Senate or House of Reps. Nobody told the alkalis of the North or the Sultan of Sokoto, please go to National Assembly and discuss Sharia. Or Obasanjo just appraised and gave them Sharia without any fanfare. No fanfare. Are you listening to me? I want to unmask the hypocrisy of the Fulani Janjaweed Caliphates, because they are hypocrites. I want to ask all of them, those of them talking and say, but you should have consulted, go to National. When they gave you Sharia under Obasanjo, did you go to National Assembly? A very simple question. You are begging them for restructuring. When they restructured Nigeria, did they beg you? They went to Obasanjo and said, if you don't do this, we'll start. Obasanjo gave them immediately. You have been debating restructuring for how many years? Do you know that God is wonderful? They cannot give you restructuring because that was the same thing that Ojukwu went to Aburi and agreed, and you said no. Now you want it. Are you following me? When the Fulani wanted to, because it is effective restructuring,